Hey, hi and hello. I'm Effie, and in this video I will be talking about Ennaria and her songs Monstarrr and Show Off. I will take a deep dive into the songs and videos, lyrically, sonically, and aesthetically, and we'll be talking about misogynistic aspects of metalcore and current feminist counter-narratives, as well as about hyperpop, feminism, and violent acts of looking. But first, let me briefly introduce the artist this video focuses on. Ennaria burst into the hyperpop and scenecore niche of music in late 2023 and started to make a name for herself when the music video accompanying her song Monstarrr dropped in February of 2024. Not only is the song a perfect blend of hyperpop and metalcore, the video itself embraces a visual overload of aesthetics ranging from Harajuku and Decora fashion to internet and scene culture, primarily referenced through the use of overlaid stickers and the MySpace-era aesthetics, to the more explicit and gory imagery often found in heavier forms of metal music. Heavily edited and flashy video is not only stimulating, but rather unique and incredibly detailed, providing much food for thought. You literally can't stop after each frame and always find something new. Since Monstarrr, Ennaria put out 4 more songs in the feature, and the attention to detail present in Monstarrr can also be found in her other videos and songs. In this video series, I will take a deep dive into Ennaria's discography and will talk about each song sonically, lyrically, and take a closer look at the embraced aesthetics. We're talking about the outfits worn in the videos as well as the editing style. Additionally, I will provide some contextualization and sociological insight into the cultural significance and aesthetics of Ennaria and the referenced visual and aesthetic traditions generally. At the end of this series, I will delve further into the relevance of her music and aesthetics for me personally. One motivation in making this video is to highlight the incredible love for detail and effort that went into each song, video, and outfit. Not only are they incredibly stimulating, and we are living in a stimulation after all, due to their maximalism and love for detail, they further symbolize a deep knowledge and understanding of the histories they are embedded in culturally, often having myriads of callbacks to scene-specific cultural symbols of significance. Before we dive into each song in order of release, let's briefly situate Ennaria as an artist and take a look at what happened before the release of Monstarrr. The internet presence of Ennaria as a persona is currently traceable back to 2021, when she started posting Harajuku and Decora fashion content on her Instagram. Her wish to create music and the importance of internet and scene culture shine through many of her posts and demonstrates some self-awareness very reminiscent of chronically online culture, such as her labeling as post-ironic sad posting or her contextualizing herself as semi-cringe, and her extensive use of text-based full-page emoji very reminiscent of early 2000s MySpace culture. She also shows self-awareness of her over-the-top aesthetics by contextualizing her internet persona into broader meme cultural discourses, by making memes about herself and her presentation. Further connections can be made to feminist discourse, as she associates herself with hysteric femininity, and to discourses in the metalhead culture about authenticity, as she sees her own musical endeavor as, I quote, the beginning of the end for you pretentious metalhead fucks, which seems very aware of the rather conservative alternative culture that she will transgress in the future. I will come back to all of these aspects later and throughout when I provide a more sociological and cultural contextualization of her work. For now, what I want to point out before diving into the individual songs is that all of this shows knowledge and the ability to accurately place herself into the intersection of multiple influences and traditions that will also resemble in her sound and style, as we will see shortly. Also, I quickly want to point out that interpretation is always a highly personal and subjective matter, and in each interpretation usually lies just as much of the interpreter as there is from the original piece of art, and I do not claim, or even believe for that matter, in something like an objective truth to be uncovered. Rather, what I will talk about is deeply connected to my own biography, education, and understanding of different aspects of culture. Keep that in mind. Monstarrr. Metalcore, misogyny, and feminist takes on traditionally anti-feminist narratives. When trying to describe her explosive debut sonically, one has to talk about expectations and their transgression. As one might not necessarily suspect from the colorful and predominantly pink thumbnail, the song starts not unlike some of your usual metalcore songs, only to then switch into a trap beat-driven rap part very much closer to hyperpop, only to then, shortly after, break with this sound too, to go back into scream heavy metalcore, thereby being rather close to something that would have been on the last Bring Me the Horizon record, or something Laura Les might release. This juxtaposition of styles is also something we will look into further when looking at the aesthetics of the video. Lyrically, the song serves as a form of introduction to the nuanced and oftentimes contradicting character Ennaria portrays, and can be seen as a feminist revenge song that pays homage to this popular theme of revenge based on failed love, but turns it upside down by switching up the usual gender dynamic, similar to songs like Migrova by Scene Queen or Fairy Metal by Banshee. In the song, Ennaria depicts her violent revenge on an ex-boyfriend that is spreading misinformation about her and reappropriates the derogatory terms he uses, embracing the monster she is said to be. However, I want to go into more detail for some aspects of the lyrics. As the song can be contextualized into a metalcore tradition, it also lyrically focuses on a popular topic that was notoriously toxic, especially in the early 2000s. Predominantly prevalent in the core genres like metalcore, post-hardcore, and deathcore, there were many misogynistic themes revolving around breakups, ex-girlfriends, or those women who simply denied the romantic or sexual advances of the male lyricists. The response to such situations was then oftentimes to write songs aimed to portray the males as victims and generate sympathy for them, while at the same time objectifying and devaluing the women that apparently hurt them, by either framing them as promiscuous, mentally ill, or manipulative. This then oftentimes led to the lyrical legitimization or even glorification of assault or worse. Many of the most popular songs of this era revolved around such topics and even portrayed them in their album covers or depicted the torture of women in their music videos. In pop punk and emo, misogyny was also omnipresent, although it often took some other form that was less straight up violent, but focused more on emotional abuse and incel discourse. Not surprisingly, many of these bands, and vocalists especially, have since been called out on their behavior that went beyond just artistic expression in their lyrics. With this in mind, I feel like Ennaria encouraging her ex to tell his friends that she is a monster, sugar spice and torture, and by highlighting to do it for the culture, she points at exactly these practices of making cultural products in the core scenes that revolve around self-victimization of men and the vilification of women. With her pointing out that he should do it for the culture, there seems to be an inherent critique for the ways women were, and oftentimes still are, portrayed in alternative music. But much like the reappropriation of derogatory terms in the queer community, Ennaria instead embraces this persona painted by her ex, and she does so not only in the lyrics, but also throughout her sound and aesthetics, especially through the incorporation of screams and blood, thereby giving us an interesting and somewhat feminist alternative to the murderous and misogynistic ex-boyfriend theme. What additionally makes this interesting is Ennaria's embrace of this monstrous character and her bloody actions that are quite contradictory to her rather sweet kawaii and Harajuku aesthetics, and this contradiction is reflected in the self-labeling as Harajuku girl from hell. We further see in verses 1 and 3 how her liberation from the seemingly toxic relationship has given her back confidence in herself and allows for self-expression. In her confidence, she feels attractive and able to face every challenge. In verse 2, on the other hand, we get further context on this situation and how Ennaria sees it as a reversal of roles, as now it's her hunting the predator. Although she later aims to fictionally seek her revenge and violence, she here stresses the importance of calling someone out, as she is saying, "Songs got legs," to millipede, thereby possibly referring to the viral nature of music has the power to spread the message about her ex. She further sings about the inability of many abusive men to reflect on their actions, as she sings, "Wrote this about you, but you can't read." Intended or not, she thereby also points to the many statements of bands in the alternative music scene that have repeatedly denied allegations or provided simple notes-app apologies that did not at all talk about the actual problematic behaviors. As Ennaria's approach to call out the predator through words seemingly fails by falling on deaf ears, she switches to a more sonic way to bring her message across by attempting to make your fucking ears bleed. As we get further into the song, her revenge takes more and more graphic and violent forms that culminate in the end of verse 3 in the bridge by describing an emasculation process which ties the problematic and predatory behavior back to its perceived root, masculinity itself, or at least in its currently constructed form. Before we take a closer look at the aesthetics, I want to briefly touch upon the use of the word femicide in the chorus. While the term itself describes the intentional killing of a woman due to her gender, it is mostly done by men and in the context of relationships. Ingenious at least, the use of the word is seen as an attempt to combine the words feminism and homicide, which in the context of the song, especially since we can assume the ex is male due to the graphic description of emasculation, seems plausible. I don't want to explore why Ennaria uses the term or how it is meant, because in the end only she can answer that, and it's quite a sensitive topic, I guess. I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about the issue itself and spread awareness. Although I don't have the exact number of femicides that have happened in the year 2025 in front of me, what I can tell you is that almost every day 1 femicide or more are attempted in Germany. I find it of importance to talk about this, as the killing of women is something that has been lyrically and aesthetically normalized and glorified to such extents in alternative music. Yet I want to make a case for the interpretation found on Genius, as Ennaria herself has commented on the song, seeing it as a way to reclaim trauma while not romanticizing or glorifying a disorder, as she's talking about borderline personality disorder, which for me shows further awareness of sensitive issues and an attempt to stand against such romanticizing and glorifying narratives that are often also related to femicides. As we are reaching verse 4, we can start to go into the actual aesthetics. Here, Ennaria once again points to the contradicting nature she embodies by wearing her lacy dress, but doing it as an act of defiance. Dressing kawaii in Harajuku and Decora fashion is here contextualized as specifically not dressing for a male or sexualizing gaze, but instead as an act of defiance, thereby stressing self-actualization and creative self-expression instead of conformity to patriarchal beauty standards. It further questions the ability of outsiders to be able to accurately interpret her stylistic choices. These topics are also central in the PhD thesis by Megan Catherine Rose, who wrote about kawaii fashion communities, but I will get to that later. In terms of aesthetics, there really is a lot to cover. When looking at the aesthetics, we can start by looking at the title of the song, Monstarrr. Ennaria, with this type of spelling, points to her knowledge of scene culture by not only referencing the popular energy drink that is part of every scene aesthetic, but also by blending it with the iconic rar sound. We can also briefly look at the logo that is very reminiscent of deathcore and death metal logos, but embraces bright rainbow colors, thereby at the same time forming a stark contrast to other logos of the genres, while seemingly being seen in Harajuku at the same time. The logo is, just like the tools of violence seen in the video, cute and horrifying at the same time. It has those harsh and more archaic qualities seen in most deathcore logos, but it is also bright and adorable, just like the Hello Kitty knife or the bejeweled, stickered and heavily cutesified pink gun. In the video we can see Ennaria in 6 different outfits that I will cover next. The first outfit we see is this pink and white outfit that is rather tame in comparison and more in line with some light kawaii and Lolita fashion, with a focus on the complementing colors of white and pink while having some rainbow colored aspects to it, like the necklace, the color pattern on the bow tie, and of course the hair and nails. Through its embrace of rainbow colors, it is also complementing the M4 that is seen in the background. The makeup is rather doll-like, with a focus on a porcelain look and a focus on big eyes. I'm pretty sure she wears contact lenses that also make her iris seem bigger. I think this outfit is a great introductory choice, as it establishes the Decora aesthetic and the love for detail and coherence, while staying rather low-key when compared to the other outfits. Later in the video, when the bloody scenes happen, I suspect Ennaria to wear this outfit underneath her semi-transparent white raincoat, but I can't tell for sure. This killer outfit is complemented with the pink cat ear razor headphones. We can also see these headphones in the scene before, when she goes shopping. Here, she wears a black hoodie with some alternative looking print on it, giving very much Y2K vibes, and a pink handbag that we can't really see. Then we also have this outfit that is accompanied by an umbrella in one of the shots, and we mainly see it at the end. It features a bedazzled Playboy necklace, a pink cropped hoodie, a black shirt with the slogan "Fuck off and with the band," pink New Rocks, white wool tights, a black, white and pink skirt, and at times the pink eggs. The color palette with the rhinestones and the slogan on the shirt scream 2000s scene and McBling aesthetics. And now we will talk about the 2 most important and detailed outfits. The first outfit we will take a look at is an outfit I simply call the Decora outfit. A picture might say more than a million words here. We can see tons of rainbow patterned plastic bead necklaces around her wrists, hair and neck, rainbow cuffs, rainbow nails, rainbow pins and rainbow colored pins, both on her shirt and hair, and much more. One really can appreciate the outfit best when seen in full, because in many shots you can only see the top half, but the lower half is just as layered with trinkets and colorful items. This outfit is completed by the absurdly cute and colorful rainbowy pink M4 gun, and is peak Decora in my opinion. I really like this outfit. and I believe Ennaria could probably talk for hours explaining where the items come from or what they mean to her, or what memories are associated with them. Above all, I want to stress how coherent everything seems, although there are a million things going on. We can also take a brief look at the gun itself. It is hot pink and bedazzled with rainbow colors at the front, armed with rainbow plushies and layered with stickers and trinkets, including references to Sanrio, My Little Pony, and different kinds of sweets. I would also argue that the background of the room we see her in is part of this outfit, as it is full of trinkets and visually overloaded to the absolute maximum. Some of those elements also seem to be ordered to fit the outfit by arranging them in rainbow patterns, while others have a natural rainbow to them. I won't go into more detail here, but you can see what you can recognize in there for yourself and gain an appreciation for the effort put into collecting these. Also, at this point we gotta talk about the editing and the overlays that further amplify this cuteness chaos. The edited in elements seem to further be references to the different cultural communities Ennaria finds herself to be the intersection of. Among others, we see Pink Monster energy drinks, many kawaii-themed cartoon and anime characters, we see old-school type emojis, reminiscent of the MySpace era internet, neon cats, slogans that could have been on MySpace profiles, and even references to early McBling and scenecore aesthetics in their use of pink, Hello Kitty, glitter, and rhinestones. At one of the shots, we additionally cut to something that looks like a MySpace page, only that it is rainbowed to the absolute limit. The background having different rainbow shapes and patterns at once, the outfits portrayed having rainbows on them, the text being in a rainbow font, and even the mouse cursor has a rainbow on it. Also notice as her outfits are changing from the more Decora style to the more Lolita style rainbow outfits, we get a sort of anime rainbow sparkle transformation sequence that at times leaves us blinded by glitter and sparkles, while different shapes and forms of rainbows transform and move in the background. I will come back later to this when talking about the single fashion hero. Near the end we further get rainbow patterned heart shapes and stars across our screen, and a deep bright chrome filter over everything. The fast-paced overlaying of the screen with stickers near the end further seems to amplify the over-the-topness of the video, bombarding you with cuteness and references, leaving you with an almost endless repertoire of frames to unpack and the impression that you just witnessed something larger than life. A whole life on the internet, output and injected right into your brain. I find it hard to believe that there will ever be a music video that scratches this itch of my brain in a similar way. Although the remix video for Dorian Electra's My Agenda comes kind of close. We got one more outfit to cover, the Lolita Pastel Rainbow outfit. Similarly to the last one, this outfit has such a coherent composition in its color and pattern. While the theme of rainbows persists, this time they are way more pastel and shiny, instead of bright like in the last outfit. Here, a lot more glittery elements are used, such as the bedazzled cross on the top of her head or the coating of her hair ribbon, as well as the pearl necklaces and the sprinkled ice cream cone necklace around her neck. This glittering is also evoked through her shiny and reflecting puffy rainbow sleeves, and her dress also seems to have some elements that reflect light, and the outfit is rounded off by the bright, pink, long and big hair extensions. To be honest, what a pleasing masterpiece of a coherent and maximalist outfit. What makes this outfit pop off even more is the setting in this dark, abandoned and gloomy location. As you can see, overall, Monstarrr references many different cultural contexts, in sound, lyrics and fashion. It borrows from the MySpace scene aesthetics of the early 2000s, McBling, Decora, Harajuku and kawaii fashion, but also anime and internet culture. And I will be coming back to these themes as we go along. Show off. Hyperpop, feminism and the violent act of looking. Who to quote if not Ennaria herself to describe her second single Show Off. She states, "A thinly veiled, egotistical hype track to fuel my god complex and confident facade. Influences of hyperpop, digicore, nu metal, happy hardcore and hardstyle. A song intended to provide you with the euphoria of your favorite illicit substance without the come down. Sonically, Show Off is very electronic beat driven, accentuated with thin melodies and the closest to hyperpop Ennaria has been so far, but once again contrast rich with screamed vocals similar to some work by Laura Les, Lil Mariko or Dorian Electra. Lyrically, this is very much a continuation of Monstarrr in terms of character introduction and development, as it again shows off her duality of being seen as sweet while at the same time being unapologetically herself and resisting attempts to objectify or commodify her. We once again see her reclaim negative labels such as neurotic mess and demonic, And instead of fitting into objectifying and misogynistic narratives like ones found in Baby's Got Back, she weaponizes her perceived beauty to destroy exactly those who try objectifying her. Not only does she use her appearance to turn your head and crash your car, which paints the male gaze as a highway to disaster, and is one of several critical reflections found in Ennaria's discography on the act of looking and being seen. Ennaria also stresses the importance of using her voice, as she is the baby that spits bars. The line standing in contrast to the implied reductionism found in the line Baby's Got Back, in terms of its portrayal of womanhood. In Show Off, Ennaria very much finds a sense of agency in her ascribed beauty, one that can be wielded to get what she wants, while at the same time not being obliged to patriarchal assumptions often tied to such beauty. She can make the first move, while also being able to walk away when she wants to, active and independent at the same time. Ennaria describes her looks as so tempting that they lead to the immediate removal of clothes from those desiring her. Which is for me particularly interesting, as males often engage in perpetrator-victim reversals after being called out for their invasive and problematic behavior, putting the blame, for example, on provocative and revealing clothing choices by those they molested. Although women are often portrayed as impulsive, this line shows the opposite through exaggeration, and points to the hypocrisy found in such sexist statements. It further provides us with an appropriate response that shows the agency that is embedded in using one's voice. As Ennaria responds by screaming so hard, it melts the face of the perpetrator right off. I interpret this as a proper reaction to objectifying behavior, one that symbolizes agency, independence, and also breaks with traditional stereotypes about shy, quiet, and innocent femininity. Especially as the scream isn't shrieky, it is hard. In fact, so hard, your face falls off. One could also read this as a metaphor for feminist movements like Me Too. As problematic and harassing behavior by men gets called out, and hopefully for the future, more people speak up and act against it. Although current political events don't give me that much hope. But that's a topic for another video. This theme of staying unaffected and strong against problematic behavior is continued in the second verse, when Ennaria shows that she can't be pulled down, even if you try to grab her. She instead reacts appropriately with violence. Like in Monstarrr, Ennaria embodies the duality of sweet and deadly. She plays nice but is your worst fantasy, as she doesn't subscribe to the stereotypical attributes often associated with looking sweet, that often culminate in men's fantasies of obedient but hot women. This fantasy not only is incredibly objectifying, it further ignores that behind the sweet facade is a whole person, not someone to be idolized or objectified, or reduced to some aspects that only make up parts of them. By stating that she is just playing nice, Ennaria might additionally point to playing nice as a tool of survival or as a safety net when confronted with potential risks in social situations. In verse 3, Ennaria elaborates on what she means by subscribing to the label of worst fantasy, by showing us her independence and originality, as well as her objection against being commodified in the culture industry. Here, she tells us that her style is not relying on brand items, or items one might be able to promote through brand deals, but are selected individually through sites such as Mercari. Further, she describes drug usage, unreliability, and aspects one might associate with a rockstar lifestyle. At the bottom line, this all paints the picture of a nuanced person that is much more than her facade and who actively aims to destroy stereotypes associated with such facades. Instead, she is unapologetically herself, resulting in being a shitshow to manage and one who can't be sold out. The liberating and anti-establishment feminist messages are then also reflected by her warning that the listener should check on their kids cause they're bumping her nightcore. Not only is this an important reference to the roots of hyperpop, but also reminiscent of the lyrical content, seen as inspiration to rebel against patriarchal structures oppressing us, at least when we see it through a queer feminist lens. Promoted through her Instagram, the announcement of Show Off was embedded into the interface of a Nintendo Wii and customized with the same rainbow sparkly background aesthetics found in parts of the Monstarrr video, while having anime illustrations of Ennaria in different outfits floating around it. We now also see that the logo used isn't the same as in Monstarrr. Instead, it is very readable and in line with the rainbow background, but also very shiny, almost glossy, and it makes me really want to touch it. The cover for the single itself shows Ennaria at its center, but heavily edited to look very doll-like, and with a choker over her mouth that spells Ennaria with rhinestones. This sort of McBling aesthetic is also present in the heart shape around her. Once again, the background is mainly rainbow themed and layered with cutouts, giving visual decora vibes. It features many anime versions of Ennaria in different outfits, cute dogs, emoji, rainbows and elements already found in the editing of the Monstarrr video, but you can see for yourself. This marks the end of the first part of this series. I hope to have been able to shed some lights on the different cultural histories Ennaria draws on and to point out some feminist readings of her work, while also pointing out the necessities of talking about the issues I addressed in this video. Tune in next time when I will talk about the songs Insecure and Jealous and how Ennaria critically engages with beauty standards. I will also be looking at the performativity associated with playing a role in a social setting, how desires to be and not me shape our journeys of becoming, and how only we can answer the questions associated with such journeys. And we will also be talking about body dysphoria. So let me know what you think about this video, especially since this is my first journey into video making. Anyway, see you in the next one. Ennaria, Effie Limerence, forever.